Hey, everybody, and welcome to the wrap up. If you haven't been here before, this is the official Raptors Republic live post game show where we recap, we dissect, and we have some fun. Hopefully, we can get some fun out of talking out of this game. I'm your co host, Hall Abdi, again, here with none other than Oren Weisfeld. I'm not going to do the man, the myth, the legend. I'll just do that on wins. How about that? The man, the myth, the
Sounds
legend will
good.
come out during the wins. And tonight, though, the Raptors were defeated by the Brooklyn Nets, 116 to 103. That brings the Raptors record to, here comes the anxiety, 26 and 36 on the season. Brooklyn Nets, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant's back. I kind of got a shiver down my spine, Oren, when pregame I saw Blake Murphy's tweet, and I saw that Kevin Durant, his minute load was going to increase a little bit. I think he got 28 minutes on his first game back versus the Suns. I think he dropped something like 32 or something like that. Kevin Durant he didn't even really do all that much in this game. Kind of took a backseat to the role players, Jeff Green, Joe Harris. But I mean, Kevin Durant doesn't necessarily have to have a Kevin Durant game for him to have an impact, simply because of the offensive attention he demands from a defense. This game was a roller coaster, though, Oren. It was run after run after run. Raptors run, Nets run, Raptors run, Nets run. Specifically, though, Oren, in the third quarter, I started talking crazy on Twitter because I was like, yo, the Raptors are back. Kyle Lowry's going crazy. Like, finally, we're getting that Kyle Lowry, that all-star Kyle Lowry after, I feel like, a couple games. Maybe he struggled.
Yeah.
But I truly believed, Oren. I believed in the third quarter, and then we saw something we're very used to from the Raptors this season, a fourth quarter capitulation, a fourth quarter shit show, a fourth quarter. I'm trying to think of better adjectives. It was just all bad in the fourth quarter. We saw Mike James, who, by the way, was just in, what country was it, Oren? Was it Russia?
Yeah.
He was just in Russia with CSKA Moscow, if I'm not mistaken. And, 2 games into being a Brooklyn Net, 3 games into being a Brooklyn Net, he turns into Michael Jordan in the fourth quarter versus the Raptors. The Raptors started blitzing Mike James, Kevin Durant wide open, Joe Harris, who's quite possibly the best catch-and-shoot player in the entire league. I'm starting to believe that. He was wide open, hit a couple threes. Oren, what did you like from this game? Or what did you not like, I should say, from this game? What stuck out to you the most?
I guess not like was Fred and Pascal.
I'm already looking at the comments. And I said to you before we started recording, Oren, we're going to see a whole lot of Pascal slander in the comments. And honestly, it might be deservedly so this time.
Yeah, like you saw Kyle be aggressive early, considering it's the second night of a back-to-back, and he's kind of been taking a backseat recently. It made sense, and it was huge for the Raptors. I thought getting the start that they did was mostly on Kyle's back, but then I was weirdly confident going into the end of the game. I just felt like the Raptors had, I don't know. I just like their starting group so much. It's playing so well. It really had a good start to the game. The starters have been winning the minutes in each of the past few games that they play. So I was kind of confident once they get to the last 5 minutes, put the starters in, that they'll kind of, that's when it was tied. I thought they could kind of make a run, maybe beat Brooklyn, even though Brooklyn obviously has a great closing group. But yeah, they just fumbled the bag at the end. Like they were turning the ball over. Uncharacteristic stuff, honestly, from Pascal and Fred. Yeah. Those guys had truly, truly terrible games. Like, it's hard to even put it into context. They shot a combined 6 for 33 from the field. 6 for 33. The rotations were all over the place because OG got into foul trouble early. So, at one point when the Knicks went on a run, it was because it was a Fred plus bench unit, which are really suspect. They always have been. And, like, I have to give Nurse some hell here because I'm just looking now, and Fred played 42 minutes, game high. And I don't understand why. Like, Well, what did he see from Fred this game that made him say, okay, he'll play the most minutes for us, more than OG, more than Lowry, more than Pascal? Like, and Flynn only had 21, and I thought Flynn was great from the start. So I think that's just sticks out to me in the box score. Fred should not have played that long because, you give your veterans the benefit of the doubt and you give them a longer leash. But if he's bad, he's bad, and you just got to pull him at a certain point, right?
Fred was a -17, Oren. And the rest of the starters, other than Siakam, was a -9. Kyle only a -4, Kem Birch only a -1. By the way, everyone's a minus in this game, except for Rodney Hood, who I'm not sure. It says he was 0 for 1, but I don't even remember him in the game. But it says 0 minutes played, so I don't know. DeAndre Bembry was a 0 as well, but he played 4 minutes. Everyone is a minus in this game. But if you really were watching from start to finish, you knew the best players on the court were Kyle Lowry, OG Anunoby, probably Kem Birch. Malachi looked really good at points in the game. But Fred and Siakam, you could make a case, Oren. They were clearly the two worst players on the court, maybe in the entire game. It's one thing with Fred. I see it. Like I understand that Fred isn't necessarily like Kyle, where when Kyle's not shooting well, he can affect the game in so many ways. Sometimes it feels like when Fred's not shooting well, you're not really getting that much more from Fred. And I don't know, like he did have 6 rebounds and 5 assists, but it just feels like his impact, his actual true impact on the game isn't there like Kyle Lowry's is. And I don't know, man, I'm getting kind of concerned with Fred VanVleet because it feels like a lot of the games this season, man, he's shooting 39%. We had to search that up in the beginning of the game, beginning of this broadcast, because Oren, I was genuinely worried about Fred's game, where I was thinking to myself, Fred's either super hot or he's completely off. Like, there's no in between with Fred. 4 for 17 in this game. His last game, he didn't shoot well. I don't know, man. It just and it's crazy to me, Oren, how he's shooting 37% from 3 this season, and he's shooting 39%, just 2% more from the entire field, which is pretty concerning, Oren, for the simple fact that tells you that inside the 3-point line, Fred is not a very good basketball player in terms of his scoring output, in terms of his efficiency inside the 3-point line. And we've talked about it before, what we think he can add to his game. But I don't know, man. It was a very, very bad game. With Siakam, it was kind of understandable. And I know that's kind of a cop-out because he did go 2 for 16, but he hasn't played well all year. Like, he's been terrible all year at the end of back-to-backs, like bad. I asked, people on Twitter if someone could find me Siakam's 3-point percentage on the second game of back-to-backs this season. And, before tonight, Oren, he was shooting 18.5% from 3.
Wow, someone found it.
Someone found it. And yeah. I don't know 100% how accurate that is, but
I believe it.
Did cite that it was 5 for 27. So
I think he's up to like 30% on the year, so that would make sense on second night.
Yeah, and it's bad because there's been a lot of back-to-backs this year. This is a compact COVID schedule, and you're starting to see now, why teams are starting to leave Pascal open, or why they're not even closing out when he's the last, pass from the Raptors. I don't know, man. This isn't something where I'm going to get super worried because, again, Brooklyn Nets are probably the best team in the league right now. But this is a game, again, I think the Raptors could have won. It wasn't even necessarily Fred and Siakam shooting really poorly, Oren. It was that they were missing a lot of shots that they probably could have hit. Siakam, I don't know if Siakam even hit a 3 in this game. I'm going to have to...
Yeah, no, he didn't.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah. So, and Fred got a lot of open looks from 3, and he was 3 for 12. So, I don't know, man. And it sucks that it's like every game, Oren, you get a really good Pascal game, a really good Anunoby game, and then you get nothing from Fred and Kyle. And then you get a good Kyle and Anunoby game, and you get nothing from Siakam and Fred. So,
no, it's exactly true. And I think the Fred worrying it's fair, but I think he does most games give you stuff even when he's not scoring. But tonight was kind of uncharacteristic, I thought. But I also think a little bit of it is on the coaching staff for putting him in these positions where they ask him to be, sometimes just the bench at him. He's the only real playmaker on the floor. Or even if Malachi's on the floor, he doesn't have the ball. Fred has the ball in his hands the whole time. And I think that's just too big of a role for Fred to play. And I was kind of surprised today in a game like today. He just didn't seem to be cognizant of the fact that he was having a bad game and kind of get other people involved instead. He just kept shooting. He had the most shots on the Raptors, 17 shots. That's the most for the Raptors. So that should never happen. OG or Kyle should have had the most shots tonight. And that's kind of where the Raptors have been all season, struggling to figure out this balance, struggling to figure out, okay, how do we highlight the guy who's hot right now and put it in their hands and run stuff through them? And they were they were giving OG a lot of post-ups, getting a lot of good stuff from that. They were running Kyle and Birch pick and rolls, getting good stuff from that. But as soon as those guys sat on the bench, or as soon as Fred got the ball in his hands, they just weren't playing smart. Pascal and Fred just had, not very smart games. It was kind of uncharacteristic. But I'd say the Raptors as a whole, I'm going to just shamelessly pull up my own tweet here from before the game.
Yeah. Bring that up. Oh, you might have to zoom in for us.
No, I did the wrong thing. Wait. Oh, wait. Here we go. One sec, everyone. Share screen. And okay, so I just think against the Nets, the Raptors had kind of a bad game plan because you have to beat the Nets inside. They have no rim protection, even though they played Durant at center a lot. We've seen the blueprint to beat the Nets. We've seen the blueprint to beat the Nets. And it's not by taking threes. It's by being Joel Embiid and scoring 40 points. It's by being Bam and getting a game high. It's by being what Siakam did to them earlier this season, which is just going inside again and again and again. And tonight, Siakam did that a bit, but as soon as he wasn't getting the foul calls, he started being hesitant and stopped going inside. And the Raptors, I think, just going to check here, they shot, 43 threes out of their 91 shots. So almost half of their shots came from three. And I just don't think that's the strategy to beat the Nets. I think first you got to beat them inside, establish that, you can score in the paint. And then once they're worried about that, then you could start swinging it out to open shooters. And, the Raptors got pretty good shots tonight, but I just felt like there was way too many times where they shot a contested three instead of taking someone off the closeout and just getting to the rim and doing more with it. So yeah, I didn't entirely understand the game plan against the Nets.
It's like when DeAndre Jordan's out the game, who's, again, I wouldn't even consider him an elite rim protector anymore. He was that for the Clippers, but I mean, just his sheer size, he's not in the game anymore. Blake Griffin is probably the biggest guy on the court for the Nets. And at times, honestly, Oren, it was Jeff Green. And that's crazy to me because when you really think about it, it's if Jeff Green's the biggest guy on the court and the Raptors aren't taking advantage, and they did take advantage, I think, on the glass. That's one thing we have to give the Raptors credit for. They did really well. Yeah, they did really well.
15 offensive rebounds, 47 rebounds in total, out-rebounded them.
Yeah, and those offensive rebounds just mean more shots for Toronto, and they shot 8 more shots. They shot 91 total shots, and Brooklyn had 83. So, that you got to take advantage of that. Kem Birch alone had 9 offensive rebounds, so 6 came from the rest of the Raptors. Mm-hmm. Kem Birch almost got a double-double with just offensive rebounds. I thought, played a really good game. He was doing everything he could on the glass to take advantage of a guy like Jeff Green boxing him out.
Exactly.
And you could see the Nets were getting frustrated. Blake Griffin was getting frustrated. We all know Blake Griffin. He's still a talented guy. He's extended his range. It doesn't really seem like he misses threes anymore. But his athleticism zapped, and he's not a force on the glass like he used to be back in LA, or even that season and a half where he was playing like an all NBA superstar with Detroit until he started. I don't know what people are saying. There's some people are saying he took games off. I don't know. I think he was just frustrated. Injuries were piling up. But but it's unfortunate, honestly, for Toronto. It's very unfortunate that you shoot more shots than the team, you out rebound them significantly, um, but you just don't take advantage. 43 3-point attempts, Oren, against a team that's their biggest guy on the court was Jeff Green for half the game. Like that's crazy to me, and this is where I think, Oren, if the Raptors, if these Brooklyn Nets were playing the Raptors of old, you're going to see a guy like Serge Ibaka have that high 20-point game, 27, 26 points, simply because no one can stop him down low. Absolutely nobody. And unfortunately enough for Toronto, they had a late third quarter run, and the juice just ran out. And the weirdest thing with Toronto, I think, this season has been that, when guys like Fred and Siakam are struggling, the Raptors constantly go to them again and again and again, simply because guys like Kyle Lowry have been, relied upon the entire game, and you have no one else to really go to. You're not going to go to Yuta Watanabe unless he's wide open for a shot. You're not going to go to Stanley Johnson, who, again, I don't even understand why he was in this game, but that's a whole nother story. It's a second game of a back-to-back. I'm not going to give Nick Nurse trouble for that. But it's just so many things wrong that happened in that fourth quarter, Oren, that I was so disappointed about, especially with Kyle and OG literally telling the team to get on their back.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunate, man. Super unfortunate.
No, I'm with you. I was hopeful going into the fourth quarter, and then it was just mistake after mistake after mistake. But I mean, we can show some plays here and highlight some of the good.
Yeah,
because there was actually a lot of good, I think, to come out of that game, especially to highlight two people. You know what? No, one more bad thing before we get into the good.
One more
bad thing.
More.
This was kind of the dagger to me, and I just don't understand. Like, I know they were full court pressing, but why double team Mike James here?
Okay,
First of all, Leo did not shut up about Mike James, but yeah.
Let me stop you. Wait. Let me stop you, because this is hilarious. Because on this play, I was on Twitter and I follow Matt Brooks. Right, he's a Nets writer. I don't know if anyone else follows him. Very, very good Nets writer. He covers the Brooklyn Nets for Nets Daily. Does really good film study for that team as well. And he was dying at the fact that Raptors were truly blitzing Mike James. And this is with Kevin Durant. And I'm pretty sure that's Kyrie Irving being guarded by Malachi Flynn right there as well.
And Joe Harris. And that's
Joe Harris.
Joe Harris. At first, I was like, "Oh no, you can't give Joe Harris an open three." And then he closed out to him, and it was like, "Oh, who's that in the corner? Kevin Durant." It's just like, why are we blitzing this? It's too easy of a swing three, and that's the game right there. So like, and I know that's not on Malachi. I know the game plan in these situations. Nurse likes to be extremely aggressive. They were full court pressing for a while now. He asks for that double, and there's certain situations where I like the aggression, but you don't need to blitz Mike James. If anything, blitz a Kyrie, blitz a KD, get it out of their hands, but don't blitz Mike. Not Mike.
Like, if there's one guy on the court, Oren, I'm okay with the Nets saying, like, they won the game because of that guy. If it's Mike James, let it be. Like, right. If you lost because of Mike James, you don't want to be that team that allows a wide open Kevin Durant corner three in the midst of a run. Like, what are you doing? And if there's like 2 or 3 guys in the league out of maybe like 15 I would choose never to leave wide open for three, it's probably Kyrie, Joe Harris, and Kevin Durant. Like, those 3 guys are absolute sharpshooters.
Yeah, and to be fair to the Nets, I thought, like, man, they scare the shit out of me. Like, James Harden isn't even playing, and they play these lineups because they didn't play DeAndre at all today, I think smartly. They play these lineups that always, like, especially when Blake's sitting and it's Jeff Green at the 5, they have insane shooting, like insane floor spacing that the Raptors you saw today, it's just too hard to make the rotations because everyone is so far spread out. And obviously KD and Kyrie demand so much attention that it's easy to bend the defense. And yeah, like obviously Joe Harris had a great night. He shot 4 of 9 from 3, but that's what you kind of expect on the looks he was getting. Anyways, I got some better stuff to share with everyone here.
Nice. Let's bring up the mood a bit.
Yeah, what do
By
you
the
want
way,
to do?
Oren, by the way, I don't want to stop you, but didn't you find it funny when the Nets got Harden, or even when they paired Kyrie with Kevin, and everyone is complaining about, oh, there's only one ball in Brooklyn. Well, look at that play if you think there's only one ball, because everybody's sharing the ball there.
Yeah. Yeah, those guys have really bought in, and they're just playing team ball. But in the comments, a lot of people are talking about OG. So
Oh, yeah, we
let's
got a
talk about him.
whole debate going on with OG in the
Yeah, we
comments.
got a. I think it's a Siakam OG debate. Who has a better ceiling? Which is always the debate on Raptors Twitter. But this was definitely the OG play that stood out.
Woo-hoo!
Just going at
Woo!
KD, and I mean, he was great all game. Unfortunately, he ran into foul trouble, which was the only reason that he played 32 minutes and kind of messed up the rotations. But when he was in the game, he was probably the best Raptor.
Look how that play starts, though, Warren. Did you notice how that play even started? Kem Birch offensive rebound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah,
that was Kem Birch the entire game. So
man, he
it's
was
just, I'm
he
looking in
was
the paint.
great.
There's not a guy in there that could stop him. Like Jeff Green is him and Durant are the two biggest guys in the court, and Durant's not helping on the glass. On his second game back from being out for however long. Like he's not going to be that guy who's going to be in the paint all game long. So shout out to Kem Birch for even starting that, and then shout out to OG for a nasty, nasty move. His dribble package, Oren, is getting so much better, man. He did get blocked. I'm not going to lie, a couple times by Durant. It kind of looked like he ran out of ideas for what to do, but OG was not doing that last year, and he most definitely wasn't doing that the 2 years prior to that.
Yeah, and they started going to OG in the post towards the end of the game because he was so hot, and he was either bullying guys or they were sending doubles, and he threw one out to Malachi for an open three. He's becoming really scary down there because a lot of teams defend him with at one point in this game they had Landry Shamet on him. So teams will have twos or threes on him that are just not very big, and OG will just bully them in the post. So that's becoming a huge part of the Raptors offense, and I think you're only going to see that part grow because the Raptors are like a walking mismatch when they play Siakam and OG together. As soon as a team switches, they tend to have like a guard on one of those players, and each of those guys can just bully in the post and make the simple read. Obviously, OG has a lot of room to grow as a playmaker, like Siakam has this year, but it's only going to come with reps. And the other OG play, the other OG play was just nice ball movement from the Raptors here.
I love it.
And this ended, I think, in a Utah 3. But yeah, this is good recognition from OG talking about playmaking, just to not force anything and to pass up a okay shot for a great shot.
Could have easily shot that right there. Easily. I wouldn't even be mad at him. But you have Utah, who, again, guys, I'm going to mention it. That positional awareness by Utah. He's always in the right place at the right time. I'm going to watch this and see where Utah starts. So he starts in the corner, drives, kicks it, and he's just sitting in that corner, wide in that corner. Could have easily cut and went straight into Blake Griffin, but stayed in that corner, stayed solid, and hit the three. And honestly, I was kind of worried, Oren, because I don't like OG passing up semi-open threes because I feel like semi-open for OG is much better than wide open for like the most guys on the team. So, that's
a shot. That's a shot OG probably takes early in this season. When just the ball wasn't coming to him as much, and he needed to kind of force some more shots in order to get them. But now he's such a part of the offense that he can get his like young teammates involved more and act more as like that veteran kind of. So OG had a great game, obviously did well on KD as well as you can. The other guy I thought was really good was Malachi, who I was talking yesterday about how he can't just be a fourth quarter player. He needs to kind of bring it all game.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he brought it from the start of this game. I think he deserved more minutes. I thought he should have played for Fred a little bit. And I want to say, watch this clip. Basically, Malachi is who Fred thinks he is. Like when it comes to taking big men off the dribble.
Okay, there we go. That's the rest of the sentence I was waiting for. There we go.
Oh no, yeah, definitely not overall. But when it comes to taking bigs off the dribble, the reason that Malachi is so much better than Fred already is not necessarily because he has like a better burst or not because he has a better first step. I'd say they're pretty similar. They can both usually get past bigs, but
Yeah.
when Fred gets past,
Ooh.
the help comes because he's slow. And when
Mhm.
when like you can just see here when he gets past, I mean, this might not be a great example, but when Flynn gets past, he's at the rim before the help even comes. So that's the big difference. And Malachi taking bigs like on an island, that's a pretty consistent win for the Raptors.
I was going back and forth, Oren, between like the TV broadcast and then
The
I
broadcast
said
was
it before.
terrible.
I love
Sorry.
watching opposite teams. Oh, I hear you. I love watching opposite teams, the opposing teams, I should say, their broadcast. Just to, again hear like how they speak about Toronto, if they're really keeping up with Toronto. Sometimes they're totally not, and but the
Yeah.
Nets commentators, I give them credit. Like they were during the game, they're bigging up OG, talking about how he's been playing in the last month, right? OG, I think with OG, I know you were talking about Flynn, and I will get to him. OG for me, Oren, has become a consistent, I want to say third option, possibly a second option. He's
Yeah.
almost becoming a guy that is giving me early Pascal vibes, and I'm not saying because of the way they play, but just the reliability factor that Toronto can get from OG. He's been consistent, man. This isn't like a 26 point next game, 11 points next. It's like it's a consistent 20 plus over and over and over again for OG. And for me, this is the tweet, Oren, for me that stuck with me. And I was hoping someone would do this eventually, post OG's monthly stats, and that there it is. Last five, OG's 22, 4.5 rebounds, 2 assists. I don't know what a stock is. I'm assuming
Steals and blocks.
okay, steals and okay. Wow, thanks. Did not know that. Just learned a new thing. 50%, 56% from the field, 41% from three, 93% from the free throw, and then the last 15, 18, 5, and 3 with a couple stocks. Did not know that was a thing again. And then Assad here says OG's going into a legit number 2 on offense. And then he just gets into his regular Raptors optimism stuff. So, yeah, man, OG's for real. Malachi looks like a legitimate bench point guard option for Toronto. Obviously not ready to start. I don't want people to go that far or to say, think about benching Fred VanVleet or anything like that. That's not happening. But eventually, Oren, down the road, I'm going to ask you this question, and you might scoff. You might, but when Gary Trent Jr. gets healthy, do you consider Fred VanVleet as the sixth man off the bench and have him lead, a mixed up second unit with starters, maybe with Kyle or maybe with Siakam? Do you do that? Because I don't know, man. I don't know.
No, it
Because I
makes
think
some
that might help
sense.
Gary Trent as well. I'm looking at it
Yeah.
from the other perspective where it might help Gary because Gary, we see how he plays the starters, but when you pair him with a bench unit, he doesn't look all that great. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like Fred's a $21 million guy, so I don't know if Nick Nurse goes there, but something, I don't know.
I don't think he was. Nick loves Fred, as
loves
evidenced by the fact that
He
he
loves
played him the most tonight, and he was one of the worst players on the court. But I don't think it happens also because the starting lineup with Birch has been so good. It's kind of hard to want to move away from that. And I get wanting to help Trent out, but Trent kind of you don't change your whole scheme around Trent. He has to figure it out within that. So I don't see that happening, but there's definitely there's definitely like a case to be made, maybe even next season, that if they keep Kyle, especially either Kyle or Fred comes off the bench, get more size on there and just kind of have, like a point guard coming off the bench. So the rotations make a little bit more sense. But
again, that doesn't necessarily mean, Oren, that I'm saying Fred should be benched or that he, Malachi should be getting his minutes or anything even close to that. I just think, you still close with Fred, right? Fred's a pretty good closer. He's done some clutch things for the Raptors over the last 3 years. So it's not necessarily that I'm saying, I'm just thinking from both perspectives where it's like maybe you try it out in what's honestly, Oren looking more and more like a lost season. I'm not ready to go there yet.
Yeah, this was a big loss. It
Yeah, this
was a
is
big
huge.
loss.
This is huge, and you needed this win because you got Denver. It's Tuesday night now. You got Denver on Thursday night.
Durant took 7 shots only.
And the Raptors still lost.
Crazy.
So that's insane. The Raptors let Jeff Green, Joe Harris, but again, that you could argue that Jeff Green and Joe Harris had big games because of the attention Irving and Durant were getting defensively, as well as Shamet, as well as Blake Griffin. He got a good, bench production. I think from this game, they only went 8 deep. Warren. I'm looking at it now. They literally only went 8 deep. Chioza wasn't there. TLC wasn't there. DeAndre Jordan wasn't there. Perry, who I'm going to be totally honest, Reggie Perry, I think it is, wasn't there. 8 deep, man. And the Raptors still. Well, the Raptors went 1, 2, 3, 5, 11 deep. 11 deep. Yeah, unfortunate. Very unfortunate for Toronto that they got this one. Man, my emotions are zapped right now. I really, truly believe at the end of the third quarter, Orrin, we were going to get a win. I did. And then even early in the fourth quarter, and then
this is a good tweet. Sorry.
It got real bad.
I found a really funny tweet that I was looking for.
Let's see. Oh, we might get demonetized. Yeah, we're definitely getting demonetized.
Shout out to 6 and 6. That was a good tweet. Yeah, because it was honestly uncharacteristic. Fred is not ever that bad, like on both sides of the ball. Like he was just not himself tonight.
We always get that picture on Raptors Twitter from somehow, some way. It's not even Raptors Twitter now; it's NBA Twitter. We're always getting that picture when Fred has a bad game. And it's a picture I don't like seeing. It's a picture that I probably get nightmares about. What? I'm not even going to question what this guy's decision-making process was when he stepped
I didn't even take him the ankle monitor.
I didn't even notice the ankle monitor. Oh, my goodness. This is bad. This is all bad. This must have been a bet. He's getting paid like $1,000 minimum to do this. Because that is crazy. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry for that. That was bad. That wasn't Fred VanVleet, by the way. That was someone that a lot of people think is Fred VanVleet. Let's go to questions.
Yeah.
Let's go to questions.
Yeah,
Guys, hit us with all of your questions that you would like us to answer, that you would like us to address. I know you guys have a lot of future questions that relate to the draft, that relate to what the Raptors are going to do. We got a lot of Masai Ujiri questions yesterday on the first game of the back-to-back. We got some Kyle future questions. If we didn't already answer your question, by the way, guys, I don't know if anyone noticed. They're playing right now. I'm missing the game, so shout out to these boys. I hope they pull through Toronto FC. If any of you guys are Toronto FC fans in the comments, let me know right now because they are playing Cruz Azul, and if you're not a real fan, if you don't have that game on, because I'm clearly not a real fan because I don't have it on.
I don't either. I missed Champions League today too, actually.
Tomorrow, you know what, to be honest, ever since the Super League and all that stuff happened with those 12 teams, I've just been so, turned off by international soccer, club soccer, Premier League, all that stuff. I'm really just focusing on Toronto FC. Plus, they just got a massive designated player that they just signed. Some guy who's like the size of Javinko from Santos FC. If you're a Toronto FC fan, again, you know what I'm talking about. So shout out to Jefferson Soteldo. I hope I said that right. Jefferson Soteldo.
This is what Fred had to say about his play tonight. So, unsurprisingly, totally acknowledges that. Yeah, that's why we can flame him because he acknowledges that he had a bad game.
Yeah, he says Fred VanVleet says, "quote I try to lay my body on the line every night, sacrifice for the team, try to get a win. I wasn't very good tonight, but I'm not in the excuse-making business. I sucked tonight. My body sucked tonight, and that was probably one of the reasons why we lost." End quote.
Yeah. We're also getting some questions here.
We are. They're starting to flood through. They are starting to flood through. I see I see you, Toronto FC Sensei Music. I see your comment. Don't worry, Toronto FC. Yes. So tell those sick. Absolutely, I'm excited for him too. Old Man Henry Oren asks, "What do you think the bench rotation should be?"
Oh,
Because Trent on the bench is similar to Norman when he was on the bench. And before you answer, Oren, a lot of people have been making this comparison where people felt like starter Norman was better than bench Norman, but people also forget that Norman was pretty damn good off the bench for like 2.5, 3 years for Toronto. I
yeah,
guess just
exactly.
remember recency bias just makes them remember what he did as a starter just before he got traded when he was averaging like 23 or something like that, 24 points per game. What do you think about it though? What do you think about the bench rotation thus far? Do you like the Utah? Do you like the Flynn coming off the bench? You think Nick Nurse should kind of switch it up, maybe try Gary Trent as a starter?
No, I think the thing about either Gary Trent or Norman being a starter based on, yeah, they are better with the starters, but that's mostly because they're more like finishers than they don't really help set up their teammates as much as they finish plays. And if you just make them starters, I think you don't solve the fundamental issues with, I guess, their game. Like they have to work around that, I think, and you just want to run your best lineup out there. And I think the 5-man unit they're running out now is their best lineup. Like it's killing teams with Birch. They have great chemistry. I think in terms of a rotation, I like Flynn.
Let's name Oren who you're not going to play in the rotation. Let's start with that. Let's get me giddy a bit. No, I'm joking.
That's a lot of people. I think like there's so few games left in the season here. I think it's time to cut the rotation. Like I think Chris Boucher would be huge because he could take Gillespie's minutes, and I'd be a lot more comfortable playing like that and playing OG at the 5 in these backup minutes with Boucher beside him. But until Boucher is back, I think it makes sense to go Gillespie, Utah, JTJ, and Malachi and play 9 men. And if Boucher is healthy, replace him with Gillespie. I think that makes sense. But the weird thing is they still haven't figured out these rotations. Today it was all over the place, partly because of foul trouble. So that's where I'm at. I think they should keep this 5-man unit. It looks great. You know, JTJ's in a shooting slump right now, but he's going to be fine off the bench once he starts hitting some shots. It's just they have to figure out how to find him some more open shots without asking him to create too much. But yeah, those would be my 9 players that I would run. How about you?
So for you, no Baines, no Bembry, no Hood, and no Stanley Johnson, just to make 100% clear.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
That's a dream.
And I did a couple games ago, if you remember, try making a case for DeAndre Bembry, but I'm off that wagon, if anyone was wondering. He struggled a lot in the minutes that he's been given. Just boneheaded turnovers. I'm not sure. He's looked really good at times this season, DeAndre Bembry coming off the bench, even as a starter sometimes this season when the Raptors are missing a bunch of guys. But, yeah, I'm off that wagon completely. I think you just go with those 9. Let's get to a next question.
This is kind of related. He says, what do you think Gary Trent – oh, yeah, what do you think Gary Trent needs to add to be a future starter on this roster? We've kind of talked about this. Do you want to take this?
Yeah. We know Gary Trent is a fantastic – he's a terrific spot-up shooter. One of the last guys on the Raptors you want to leave wide open. We know he can create – off the dribble. He's a really good jump shooter. Shot selection is something that Gary Trent Jr. really needs to work on. A lot of people have been calling him a gunner. A lot of people have been calling him a chucker, and you never really want to hear that as an NBA player. But I think it's clear as day that one of the things Gary Trent Jr. lacks the most is his ability to attack the rim. And we've seen flashes where he's done the little floater thing and, he's done different things, but you really want to see an aggressiveness like you see with his shooting, with him attacking the rim. Defensively, Oren said it before, he's on and off. I wouldn't consider him, I know a lot of people like those passionate style defenders that, they slap the ground and they do all that crazy stuff. Not to say Gary Trent Jr. does that, but he is very passionate. I I think Gary Trent Jr.'s defense is fine. His shooting is fine. I just need to see that third level of scoring from him that can elevate him to that Norman Powell level. And again, we didn't see that full 3-level scoring from even Norman Powell until this season. We saw flashes of each level the last couple of seasons from Norman Powell. Gary Trent Jr., I want to see that from him. Because right now, if you ask me, Norman Powell is a clear-cut starter in the NBA right now with his talent level. But Gary Trent Jr. maybe isn't. I think he's a bench player on good teams, and I think he's a starter on not so great teams.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And the other thing is he can add a left-hand finish because he's really hesitant to do that at the rim. He always tries to reverse to his right, and that gets him in a lot of trouble. And then the other thing is like drawing contact. He very rarely gets to the rim. Like his as a playmaker, he's fine, I would say. He doesn't turn it over and he makes the right read pretty often. But yeah, like he rarely draws contact, even though he's pretty strong and he could initiate it more a little bit, I think. But he's pretty foul averse. He'd rather take like a mid-range pull-up than go at a defender who's backtracking. And sometimes he just has to get into those defenders' arms and try to go to the free throw line, which is something Norm, got good at very late in his career. So that's the like positive, is that it's not like over. You are not who you are. Like Norm did not become a good foul drawer until really this season and last season.
Yeah.
And that was like his 26, 27-year-old years, I think. I think he's about that old. And yeah, so I would say those things.
Let's get to the next. I'm seeing a lot of draft questions.
Yeah, I'm not ready to go there.
I'm not ready to go there.
Like
again.
Towards the end of the season, we'll definitely get to all those type of questions if the Raptors are.
We don't want to ruin it now, Oren. Like we don't want to dry it out.
No, there's no point. Is there any other ones about this?
There's
season?
More.
Oh,
I'm just reading through them. Let's just answer this really quick from James.
Yeah.
Will there ever be a realistic scenario, Oren, where Lowry stays, but then comes off the bench?
I think so. At least in the regular season, kind of like what Miami did with Goran Dragic last year. They kind of switched it up, put him in the starting lineup in the bubble and the playoffs. But before that, he was the sixth man. I think I could see something like that. Like, I think the odds of Lowry being a Raptor next year are better than a lot of people think, just because a lot of contenders don't have cap space to sign him outright. So I think either a sign and trade, or Kyle re-signing with the Raptors to kind of close out his career here, I think is more likely than people are making it out to be. Mm-hmm. And like he's obviously a very prideful player and good enough to continue starting, but I think there are certain situations where it just makes more sense for him to come off the bench, especially because maybe in a vacuum you'd rather Kyle start and Van Vliet come off the bench, but that's less likely to happen because Van Vliet is at the beginning of a 4-year contract. He's a young player, they're developing. It's very different than Kyle, who you can kind of ask him to come off and do his thing, but I don't think it would be maximizing his value either to do that.
Yeah, I like how you made the Goran Dragic comparison. For me, I think Kyle right now is a better player than Fred VanVleet, and I think he's much, much, much better than Malachi Flynn. That isn't indictments on either player. So for me, as of now, no. Like, I'm speaking now on the future. Things can change. Kyle's getting up there in age. So, like when you get up there in age, Oren, we've seen it time and time again with all-star level players that there can just be a sudden drop-off. But I think with Kyle, you're not really going to see that. You're going to see you're going to see him decline, but at a very, very slow rate, kind of like Goran Dragic. Goran Dragic at one point or another in his career was like almost all-star level, if not like borderline all-star at one point in his career, and he's still a very good player now. So yeah, I can definitely see Kyle coming off the bench eventually. But it really, again, with the options Toronto has at guard in Fred, I'm assuming I don't know if Bembry's going to be there next year. I'm not 100% sure, but two guys that for sure are Fred and Flynn, and I just don't think Flynn is ready to step in and be that guy. And some people might say, hey, Kendrick Nunn was ready for Miami pretty early, but
No.
I don't know.
I
don't
actually like Flynn off the bench because I keep thinking about Flynn more of a scorer than a playmaker, even though like he makes good reads and he's a good playmaker in the pick and roll. But other than that, he's not like a special playmaker, and I think he has some special scoring ability. And I want to hit on this question about Kem Birch before I forget because I just downloaded.
That's an easy question.
Yeah, we got a late clip come in that I want to
Can I
highlight. This
answer it?
was Yeah, go ahead. But this was the
Okay.
Raptors' first defensive possession of the game, and I just love what Kem does here. But yeah, you can go ahead and answer it.
Here it comes.
I mean, just like the biggest thing is that the Raptors love to double team. Yeah, the Raptors love to double team guys like that KD, but I just like how fast Kem gets there, then gets to his man, then contests, and then gets the rebound. Like he did literally everything Aaron Baines can't do in one play.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that was
This was his best game. Like
I feel like that was one of the easier questions we've gotten.
No, for sure.
And I love, Oren, that we continuously find ourselves saying this was Kem Birch's best game. He's getting more and more comfortable with the guards, with the system.
Yeah.
And they're making it easy for him. Like it doesn't look like he's trying super, super hard to rack up, anywhere from 10 to 14 points and however many rebounds. It doesn't seem like he's trying that hard. He said it the last game, that was the easiest 14 points I've ever had in my career. So for him, this is easy. I feel like he was such an easy, simple puzzle fit into this Raptors defense and offense. And I know, Kyle really appreciates it. Kyle and Malachi Flynn, probably the Raptors' two best playmakers, as well as Pascal Siakam. They really, really, are not taking for granted having an athletic finisher at the rim like Kem Birch. So
yeah,
absolutely.
and that was the thing about Baines is just that he wasn't mobile enough to play this way and to double guys and then get back to his rotation. And so OG and Siakam had to cover up a lot for him, and it just was leading to a lot of mistakes. But Kem can just double team guys like this and then get back to his guy and still rebound. And that's really what the Raptors ask out of their centers if you want to boil it down to the basics on defense. And I thought this play was really a good highlight of that. But yeah, Kem's been great.
I love Kem. I love it.
His mom has a podcast. Everyone should check out.
Yeah, his mom does have a podcast. What's it called? If I'm not mistaken.
I forget.
Oh goodness, I put you on the spot. I'm sorry, Oren. Let's do this one because I know Phoenix has asked a few questions. He says, "Do you agree with the statement that Siakam should be in more of an off-ball role instead of taking the amount of dribbles he's taking?" I'm not sure who made that statement, or I don't know if he's just asking that generally. But you're asking if he should be more in an off-ball role. I know people get tired of Pascal sometimes over-dribbling, and the fact that offensively Pascal's game isn't wow. Doesn't wow you like Steph Curry's does, or John Wall back in the day, or whoever. Like, it's not a wow game. It's a lot of dribbling. It's a lot of finding the soft spots on defense, some hook shots, some floaters, post-ups. Pascal does it all. I feel like the way Pascal's scoring now is fine. I'm totally okay with it. He's pretty efficient in the way he scores. Obviously, if there's one thing I would really want from Pascal this year would be for him to fix his three-point shot. And I'm not sure. That's not to say, something's totally wrong with it, because last year he shot a very good percentage from three. But this year it's been kind of off. So I don't know if it's if he changed something in his shooting form, changes mechanics, or if it's a mental thing, if it's just the entire whole COVID and, NBA practices in a goddamn hotel ballroom or whatever the hell it is. There's a lot of things going on with the Raptors. I don't know what it is for Pascal. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think he should be in more of an off-ball. I'm fine with how Nick Nurse is using him. Totally fine.
Me too. I actually think he's judged unfairly because of this contract, he has and everything. But, look into the numbers, and Pascal's been the best Raptor this season. It's just pretty clear cut. Like, even like he's shooting the three really badly. He's making mistakes on defense. Even with all of these things, he's had the most impact on them winning. If you look at the advanced numbers, if you look at, just and he's also been really consistent as a scorer recently. This was his first bad game in quite a while. So I don't think it's fair to ask him, like, can he excel off ball? Sure, he did next to Kawhi, and he'll, like, maybe on an ideal team he would be a little bit less on ball and just like not the number one guy. And he has struggled at times as the number one guy. I think it's fair to say that he has too much of a playmaking load on him at times, but I also don't think like putting him off ball means you're putting who? Fred on ball more? Because I think that's actually a bigger problem. I think Fred off ball, running around screens, shooting three rather than playmaking is actually, to me, more important than Pascal off ball, because Fred's such a good shooter.
Agree. Yeah.
So I don't really because if you take Pascal off ball, that means someone else on the team is getting the reps on the ball. Mm-hmm. And the only guy I could make a case for is Malachi Flynn. But other than that, I don't really see anyone needing more usage in the playmaking reps like that.
Yeah, Kyle gets enough, deservedly so. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe you decide that you take away some of Fred VanVleet's on-ball reps and you hand that to more of Malachi. Maybe you kind of change your system where a lot of the plays that Fred has where he ISOs at the top or takes the high screen roll at the top, you give those to Malachi. And yeah, I agree. I feel like if there's one player on this team that probably deserves more off-ball opportunities, it's probably Fred, and a little less on-ball opportunities. I think that helps Fred's game more. I think when Fred's set as a shooter, he's one of the best shooters, I think, in the league, not just on the Raptors. So, yeah, he's shooting 37% on, I think, extremely difficult, relative to the rest of the league, very difficult attempts. So we're going to flip that question and say not Siakam, but instead Fred. Phoenix has another question.
Yeah, he asks, what's OG's offensive ceiling? Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just reading the rest of it. I think he can be a number 3 option on the championship team at his peak. What's your take? Yeah, I think I said it, earlier in the show that, I think OG can be that number 3 guy. When I say number 3 guy, I know people are like, oh, well, what's so special about being a number 3? I mean, number 3 on the championship team. And people might think that's insane. I don't care, guys. It's so easy to say in hindsight that you were one of those people, but nobody thought Pascal Siakam, when we drafted him, he'd be a number 2 option on the championship team. Nobody thought that. I didn't think that. I doubt Oren thought that. Pascal's ascension to becoming close to what we saw was a superstar last season, an all-NBA second teamer, which means he was one of the 4 best forwards in the league. That type of ascension, I don't necessarily see it from OG, but I can see him being a 3rd option. I can see him reaching. I'm not going to go as far as to say, all NBA 3rd team level, or just all NBA level in general, but I think OG at his current, progression rate, I wouldn't be surprised to see an all-star or 2 or 3 in his horizon. He's still super young, or no?
Yeah, he's blown my expectations out of the water this season. I just didn't think. I always thought his handle was just too robotic. I just never really trusted him on ball. And yeah, he's really excelled, especially since the Norm Powell trade, when he's had a bigger role in the offense. I honestly think OG's ceiling is a second best player second best player on a championship team. Like, that's his ceiling.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing for him now is he's not going to do it the same way Pascal did it. Pascal is just, he's shiftier, he's longer, he's more athletic. He's more of a problem at the rim. OG's probably never going to be that good at getting to the rim because he just doesn't have that burst and that step. or the dribble package, but he's turned himself into such a good shooter that now I think the next step is like he has to become a better playmaker.
Mm-hmm.
And part of it is out of the post ups where they're going to him more, but also at the perimeter. Like you could run a lot of dribble handoffs with OG if you could, find guys a little bit more. But right now his playmaking is really limited. That anything, if like how they used to put the ball in Mark's hand
Yeah.
at like the elbow, and he would kind of dictate the offense. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
OG has that capability in the future. I think that's maybe his ceiling, but he has to go a long way as a playmaker in order to get those reps and be like a hub of an offense.
Yeah, for sure. I think OG, it's so impressive that we haven't just seen, one side of or one aspect of OG's game improve drastically in terms of his finishing at the rim or even his mid-range game. We knew that he's had potential from his rookie season. We saw the flashes. He had all NBA defensive potential.
I'm just going to
But
plug myself. I actually have a
yeah,
piece on OG and
nice.
Fred coming out tomorrow for Sportsnet. So be on the lookout for that.
Woo!
Give
Sports
it a
net alert.
share it, be on the lookout.
Nice.
We out
That's
here.
dope. That's
But
dope.
yeah, I talk a lot
See.
about OG and where he can kind of develop into offensively.
Amazing. I can't wait
And
to read that.
Jesse won't shut up about his question. So no, mint chocolate chip sucks. That's my take.
Mint
What's your
chocolate
take?
chip is absolutely terrible.
Terrible ice cream. Like there's so many better options.
If you're a fan of mint chocolate chip, I feel sorry for you. You're eating toothpaste ice cream, and I wish you the absolute best. Let's do one more question, Oren, because
Yeah.
we've been going on for almost an hour, which is pretty crazy because I feel like we do this after losses and it really starts feeling like a group therapy session.
Yeah, it has been.
So
Jesus
let's do
Christ.
one more. I really like this question because it's kind of non-Raptors related. We can kind of forget that the Raptors lost for a bit. And Jiu-Jitsu Teo, who's been a staple here, we really appreciate, asks Oren as he's cracking his spine, who's your most who's your most underrated non-Raptor player in the league? I was so close to saying OG Anunoby until I saw non-Raptor. That's hard, Oren, because I feel like a lot of the underrated guys this year have been getting attention on NBA Twitter and throughout the media. I would say a guy like Michael Bridges or Michael Bridges. I don't know how to say it correctly. I always struggle with his first name. I don't know what the correct pronunciation is.
Mikal, I think.
Yeah, Michael Bridges.
I think. Yeah.
On the Phoenix Suns, I would say that because he is an incredible shooter, one of the better 3-and-D players in the league. But he's been getting a lot of media attention this year, deservedly so. Phoenix Suns are playing great basketball. DiVincenzo, I think, is having a very good year. I really like what Richaun Holmes has been doing. I feel like the entire Raptors community was talking about Richaun Holmes prior to the trade deadline. He's one of the more underrated guys in the league. No one's really talking about him anymore because the Kings suck. And if you're a Sacramento Kings fan, I feel sorry for you. No, that's rude. Who are some other guys? What other underrated guys come to mind for
Most
you?
underrated player in the league is Joel Embiid. He's the MVP. No, I'm actually joking, but I think the fact that everyone is being like, no, Jokic is the MVP. It's not even a conversation. Don't even talk to me. I think for me, Embiid's in the conversation. Like he's not just on the ballot. He's genuinely, I would consider him putting number one. But one guy who came to my mind who, just got a max contract, so I don't know how underrated he is, but Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
Drew Holiday, I
So
think, has made the Bucks really much better, and I think the Bucks are for me, it's a toss-up between them and the Nets to come out of the East. I'm high on the Bucks. I think they could win a title this season. I think they're that good, and I think they, as a team, have gone very underrated or under the radar this season. And Drew Holiday, he missed a lot of time because of COVID. I would recommend everyone check out JJ Redick's podcast with him recently. They just talk life and basketball, and Drew's a really genuine person, and I think he's changed that team, and I like their chances because of him.
There's a lot of guys, Oren, for me, who come to mind. Malcolm Brogdon is a guy people have been talking about for a couple of years now, but I don't think enough people talk about how good he is, just simply because Sabonis, who's I think is the best player on the Pacers, not by much, but they're both great players. Brogdon's averaging 21 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds this year with a steal. So that's a guy, no one really ever talks about. When you talk about Indiana, for the people who do talk about Indiana, which I think is like 3 people on the planet, it's Domantas Sabonis. Jordan Clarkson's having a very good year, but hey, he's looked at as a 6th man. Yeah. Andrew Wiggins, I think, Oren, has had a breakout year this year. Yeah. He has looked incredible defensively. And he's playing a role for Golden State. And I truly believe that Steph Curry's looking around at this team and he's thinking, like, if we're going to make this team, a championship team, there's certain guys who have to go and there's certain guys who have to stay. And I think Wiggins has to stay. Even at that contract, I think he's been really good. People really need to watch Golden State, watch Andrew Wiggins. He takes the toughest defensive assignment every single night, and he's good. He's been really, really good. I think he's been shooting really well from 3. Let me pull up his stats real quick. Back myself up.
Yeah, he's been good.
18 points per game, 47% from the field, 38% from 3, career high, 5 rebounds, couple assists, a steal, and a block. Hey, Andrew, better see you. I better see you in a Canada jersey this summer, buddy. Better see you there.
Also on the Hawks, Kevin Huerter comes to mind, as does Clint Capella. Clint Capella is having a crazy good season. People have talked about him as maybe the most impactful Hawk this season, based on how much he's played and just how much he mans the center position, rebounds there, and block shots. And the other guy who I'll end it with is a Raptor, and that's OG Anunoby. Not to be a homer, but really, sometimes I'm on League NBA Twitter, not Raptors Twitter, and people just don't understand how good he is. Like, it's really one of those underrated things where defensively they don't understand how good he is, and offensively they don't really understand what he's done this season. So he's really under the radar, and people are gonna learn about him in the next couple of years.
For sure. I think that's
especially after what he did to Durant today. Honestly, he looked harder for Durant to guard than Durant was for him.
Yeah, so. Durant was giving up the ball quite a bit when OG was on him. But hey, Durant. I'm not taking any shots at him. Durant to me might be the best scorer we've ever seen. So yeah. To say OG was doing a pretty good job on him probably says quite a bit. I think that'll do it for the questions. I see your question.
You gotta go to sleep.
I see your question, Matthew, about, Mary Brown's or Popeyes, and me and Oren are not going to answer that question until we get sponsored by one of the two.
I've never had Mary Brown's.
But I have. It's very good. Popeyes Canada and Mary Brown's, if you're listening, we're not answering that question until that money starts rolling in. No, I'm joking. That's going to do it for us, though. That was the wrap-up. That was the official Raptors Republic post-game live show. Before you guys leave us tonight, we need you to like, comment, and subscribe to the Raptors Republic channel. Turn on the post notifications if you haven't already. We want to thank our sponsor, Arif Qureshi from Remax, for supporting the show. This was the wrap-up where your Raptors were defeated by the Brooklyn Nets 116-103, bringing the Raptors record to 26-36 on the season. I'm your co-host, Sahal Abdi. There's the great Oren Weisfeld. We'll see you guys Thursday night. West Coast trip coming up.
Oh yeah, late Denver nights.
Nuggets. Oh my goodness. I cannot wait to watch Jokic.
Everyone got to stay up late. We'll be on around like midnight.
Stay up late. Drink the coffee. Do whatever you got to do. Denver's coming.
Do you got to do. See ya.
Take care.